Thank you so much, Letri. Deep insights once again. Um, so, I mean, as AI uh, advances, it's not something that is just on its own. AI is influencing every aspect of our lives, including cybersecurity. While cybersecurity is also needed, to shape how AI affects us, you know. So we need cybersecurity, effective cybersecurity, to mitigate any negative effect. Okay, AI is a tool, like any other thing, and it has to be used for good. Thank you very much once again, Tree. I think we will let's just take like a 10-minute break, and then we'll have the final session. So thank you very much. So we can use that to interact with ourselves. And please don't leave. This is the most important and the most interesting part of the event. Thank you very much. Okay, production. I hope the online guys are ready. Okay, welcome back, everyone. And right now, we're going into the final session, and it's the second panel session. And this will be handled, moderated by Michael Osumo, the project manager for Instig Labs. Before I, thank you very much. Before I hand over the mic to
Sure.
before I hand over the mic to Michael, I need to read out his profile. Okay, so Michael is great. Okay, so Michael is an amazing person. He's a passionate program manager and educator dedicated to bridging the gap between theoretical knowledge and industry applications. Through his leadership of the Gen AI network community, he creates hands-on learning environments where students transform theoretical AI knowledge into real-world solutions. I believe you heard about some of his experiences interacting with students who are creating wonderful applications. So AI-powered solutions out there. His approach combines immersive workshops, team-based projects, and skill-building hackathons to help aspiring AI practitioners develop both technical expertise and practical problem-solving abilities. I can attest to this. The first time I met Michael was during the data meets music. Yeah, data meets music, and it was all about how AI is powering the entertainment sector in Nigeria. How people are using AI to do wonderful things. Please welcome Michael Osumo, and Michael Osumo will also introduce the panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your patience. I promise you this last will be one that you'll be glad you waited for. Without much ado, let me just call to um, you know our panelists. Dami Ogunfowora is also going to be talking with us about data security. Then we have we have three persons online. I'm made to yes. Okay, then we'd like to have Mr. Ayo to join us on the podium. Thank you very much. We also are where we have Lesui, Moses Fire, and Mr. Audu online joining us. So, I mean, it's been so much, yeah, telling you about AI. Last the last session was about security, and I just wanted to ask if you had a choice. Let's say you are okay, that would be too extreme. But just imagine you are in this. Have you seen the movie Saw? Saw. Who's seen the movie Saw? That horror movie Saw, where give them options and makes them do things. If the option was, do you have your social security, your social network, your social media, your Facebook, your WhatsApp, to have somebody hack into it and make it public, or have somebody hack into your bank account? What are you choosing? What are you choosing? What are you choosing? So you would rather have somebody hack into your social media account and have every detail about you than have your bank account. You can change your bank details, but you don't want them to have access to your social media. Exactly. So the reason why some people For instance, my but does anybody have? Are you? Do you have anybody that's like, no, I have too many things in my Facebook or WhatsApp that if people know about me, it might ruin my life. I can always change my bank account. After all, I have more than one bank. Okay, yeah. All right. So on that note, I want to just shift the question to Dami. I mean, there's so much talk about security, privacy, and as people have said right now, I mean, their bank account is one key aspect where they don't even want to let go of. But where do you think we can apply as professionals, as people in the space? What are the opportunities for being more secured, for applying more privacy awareness to our practice? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. I was telling Mike in response to this question that I don't think anybody that doesn't want their social media account to be hacked is going to say social media. Because what if we live here and they can hack history? Okay, anyway, going back to the question, I'm going to be coming from um an angle that I understand and that I am passionate about and that we're currently building and working on. Okay, so I think when it comes to AI and when it comes to building AI models, especially for professionals or regardless of what um, clusters you're looking at the bedrock of this is trust. At the bedrock of giving your data out is trust. Can you trust that the information that you're giving out will be used ethically? Can you trust that if it is being used ethically, the solutions that is produced from these models, can you trust that the solutions are in your best interest? Because in the first panel session, we mentioned Danjuma mentioned where we need to start looking at AI and the future of AI in the perspective of individualism. How can I make it better for me? Because if we want to bring a whole Nigeria, Africa, was working in the Western countries might not necessarily work in the exact same context because we don't face the same problems. So we don't necessarily need the exact same solutions. So if I'm going to trust AI to create solutions that will benefit me, that wouldn't just benefit, then there has to be a level of trust. If we're adopting models that have already been built, that were not necessarily built locally, how can we then trust that the data that was used to build these models will address my issues, will solve my problem here in my local context of it? I think one of the approaches that we need to use when it comes to creating solutions, AI based solutions, is communities. As a professional, as an individual, what community do you belong to? Because within these communities, we might not be able to have regulatory bodies that can address some of the issues that we have on a national scale, on a federal scale, on a continent scale, because it has not worked so far. Or don't let me generalize. That might be a long shot. But if we bring it down to our immediate communities where we understand our core problems, where we understand the value of the value. Let me put it like this because data is life here. The value of my life might not matter to everybody, but does it matter to my family? Does it matter to my friends? So it might not matter to everybody, but it will matter to your own community. So we need to start looking at creating solutions that are community based, that addresses our. That is why I love what Incata is doing with this program, which is what we also want to do, or which is what where our vision is at the Adrenalina, is to be able to build community-based solutions, because nobody can advocate for your problems like you. You know the solutions that you need. You know how you want to get better, but there's only so much you can do by yourself. Imagine you have people working together and saying, "Oh, this is our problem in this profession, for instance, or in this community, and this is the solution that we want to create." Do you need federal government to advocate for you? You will advocate for yourself. You will form ethical. How do I put it? You'll be ethical about the way you use your data, because you know that when that solution comes out, it's not just you that will have access to it, the general public will also have access to it. So I think community based perspective will be very key to building such solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The answer is so robust. It's almost like we can just end the session. But on that note, what she said about community, everybody's voice here can be cloned. If I have had cases where people will get calls and be like, you know, um, we've had, I mean, people say the voice was my son's voice, and I had to send the money to the person. I mean, community is almost like your best result. Having protocols where you be like, this is the thing that only my son or daughter knows. So before I even make a transfer, I'm asking you that question. I don't even care if you sound like him or her, but I'm going to ask you that question. But moving on from, just our communities, for instance, I want to ask Leslie, as somebody who works in the banking sector, in a way for people to fall prey to some of these, problems, some of these attacks, and how do we guard against them?
Mike, can you repeat your question, please? I didn't get the beginning.
Okay, so I said as somebody who works in the banking sector, and you're familiar with some of these attacks people face when it comes to, scammers. Now with AI, somebody can hear the voice of their son or daughter, right? And feel like, oh, I have to make this transfer. What do you think, are the challenges that has made this kind of attacks to be successful, and how can people safeguard against them?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your question, Mike. Is dealing with what we call deepfake, and it's not so far from community issues that have been talking just now. If you look now, there is an issue running at the eastern part of Republic Democratic of Congo, and that war is really impacted by those community issues using artificial intelligence also manners. So artificial intelligence impact when it's close to money, when it's close to reputation, is a matter of concern. But when it's close now to human being, his life is making the subject to be more critical. If you go from that issue where artificial intelligence is used to manipulate communities, to manipulate how people identify himself as a member of a community, or how he's looking at the other member of the community, you can understand how powerful that tool is around data manipulation. That's why I started to say during my presentation, most of the time we have to believe on something. For you, your community is strong. What is coming to your community can guide your action and impact your decisions. But if tomorrow something clone informations coming from your communities and let you understand something different, It can impact the way you react, the way you act. Coming to the banking sector, there's no question of community because the bank is open to everybody. But what is sensitive is we're having data that are important for us according to the classification we have. And the energy you put to protect data depend at the level of classification the data have inside your assets. You can't spend the same amount of energy to protect a data that is not accessible by a wide number of people than the one that is accessible by the wide number of people. Artificial intelligence is also reshaping the way we classify data and the way we protect them. And if you look at deepfake, I started to say we have been training our collaborators and people saying, okay, to identify when you are in a meeting, you have to make sure participant is having an corporate name. You have to make sure participants are having the corporate picture that have been validated. But all those strategies have to be put on the table. And one simple strategy to avoid that deepfake during meeting, for example, is to know, okay, I have a meeting at 10. Who is the host of the meeting? Is the host of the meeting that have to let people get into the meeting? Is the host of the meeting that have to accept people getting into the meeting? And there is another way. When there's a question that you have to ask, if you are asking yourself to know, maybe there's something that is going on wrong, and reflex. How can I say it? An action is to just call the host on phone through a different medium, not during the session, but through a different medium to make sure the people you are communicating with are really the people of inside the corporate. Deepfake have really changed the way we are helping human factor to be enhanced in our environment, especially in banking sector. You talk about what we call in French, we are receiving some orders through phone in house to conduct financial issues through video, through an online session. Top members are giving instructions. So if you don't train people to understand that the tools that they have is a tool of confidence, but the people that may taking part of the meeting, they don't have to behave to them at 100%. So putting stop applying instruction coming from those type of mediums. You receive the instruction, you get them on your notes, and then you let confirmation through another medium. It's true, it's having an impact on the speed of the way business is going on, but it's the way to protect the people against those new sources of vulnerabilities that are making discussion through phone. You may discuss with somebody that is not your CEO. During a meeting, you may get an order coming from somebody that is not your financial officer. So get a validation through another medium, through a clear memo, through an informal mail, or through an face-to-face discussion to corroborate what you got during the meeting, according to the criticality. If it's not so critical, no impact you are kind of applying. But when it's come to impact, when it's impacting data of customers, because there's a sentence I used to say, data in all organizations, especially in banking sector, they are not the property of the bank, but it's the property of customers. But if a decision is touching customers' data, is touching customers' money, or is touching customer transaction, before putting it in action, you should get a confirmation through another medium. So that is a simple policy. It's not dealing with technology because most of the time the most powerful solution are not technological solution. It's a kind of common sense to let understand that things are changing. Use a
Yeah,
different medium to get confirmation. That is how I handle that type of issue.
Thank you very much for that. Direct answer. You need to use common sense. Like, yeah, most of the time, emotions get in the way, but try and use common sense. I want to, go to Moses Fire. Somebody in the legal space. You deal with a lot of common sense issues, and sometimes the lack of common sense being applied. But my question is, what is the smartest way you think that the people that determine how society tends to function? I'm referring to policymakers. So what's the smartest way to regulate the use of AI? It's 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 an innovation, but as we've seen from the last talk, it has dire consequences when people fail to adhere to common sense measures. So, but what's the smartest way that policymakers can regulate its use while still encouraging innovation? This is for Moses Fire. It's not. Okay, so I think the common sense thing to do is to address it to the person closest to law here, which will be Mr. Ayo, who is in the PRO section.
Okay. Um, PR and law have some things in common and also some things differently. So just the same way the lawyer defends his client in front of the law, the public relations consultant defends his client in front of the public. So um, what I can say in terms of, um, the policymakers are over there in Abuja and in Alausa, and we are right here in Yaba. However, we can use our common sense as well, to take a look from our own perspective at issues and also give our own advice. I remember we have a we have a a policy. I think it's NDPR that guides data privacy and all of that. But then, if we look at the parallel with Europe, North America, and other developed, we realized another developed countries, we realized that this has not been fully implemented. Now, I don't think this is as a result of poor policy itself. I mean, we have smart people like Moses Fire who are advising these people. I don't think the law is deficient, and I don't think the people are. I don't think the people are silly. What I think is happening is there hasn't been. I mean, just like Larry mentioned, one of the earlier speakers, you know, there is some sort of ideological issue, right, at the fundamental. So you find it pervading every sector of our country. And I will just delve in briefly into history, into, I'm taking a look at how advanced economies got to where they are. The technology did not come first before the civilization. The civilization came first before the technology. So if you look at the Western societies, they had something called enlightenment over a century ago, whereby um, their ideas about everything changed, and they grew a developmental mindset. And after then, they had the industrial revolution, and so their development leapfrogged immediately. From the industrial revolution, they then entered the information age, and this here we are, right? I don't think we've had our own enlightenment in Africa. So I think over time, right, by building communities and um, individual ideologies, eventually we will get to that point whereby there's a general um, there's a general ideology, there's a general developmental ideology in the society, and then right now No, just like Danjuma said, the system is faulty. So we can't look at Africa, Nigeria collectively, but individuals have gotten there, right, and are making progress. So back again to the
Yeah,
issue of policy.
yeah,
I can't delve into the issues specifically, but I know that we need a complete reorientation at a fundamental level. Thank you very
awesome.
much.
So from what you said, Nigeria or Africa in a way has not had its enlightenment period. Safe to say we're in that period right now. And with groups like Incata, I feel that's one of the founding mission of okay, let us take this to town. Let's empower people with the skills both in AI and cybersecurity. And this brings to the next question addressed to Mr. Victor Audu. Like Nigeria is obviously embracing AI and innovation, you know, balance that with the need for privacy. How do we balance that with the need for ethics? Because on one hand, you need to give people data to build. AI is built on data and whatnot. But how do we ensure that we don't also invade people's privacy while pushing this mission? Mr. Victor Aldo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Sorry, I had a little bit of network challenge. Can you reiterate your question just briefly, swiftly?
Okay, so Nigeria is obviously, embracing AI, and we are safe to say at the forefront in Africa when it comes to AI adoption. But how do we blend this adoption, this innovation, with the need for privacy? You know, so how do we? What is the balancing act you would suggest we take, or the approach, especially coming from the thoughts of you having a group like Incata, leading this mission of innovation?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. First of all, I think before we can even delve into solutions, I think there's a need for people to get to understand the importance of that of data, because when people do not understand what data really is, all the core value for data, they tend to throw it all around. So if people don't even understand that this thing I'm giving out, or whatever technology that is coming in that's going to be controlling a certain level of my information, I need to I need to be sure about it before I trust my information to that thing. So first and first, we need to be sure that make sure, and that is why Ikata is here. We need to really create a lot of awareness in the system or in the society at large, where people get to understand that data is power. I don't want to say data is life. Data is power. Let's say every day of our life we interact with data. You go online, you log in with a certain password, you post your picture, you share your geolocation. We do virtually everything. Sometimes when you're eating, you're traveling, you're going on vacation, people are aware of your next move. People tend to like literally keep track of what you're doing and where you're going. So, but when you see in the so when we bring it down to or take it up to MI5 and MI6, the FVIs and CIAs, these are guys that really understand the power of data. That's why when you work with these bodies, before you eventually want to say you want to quit jobs like that, they do a deep search of the kind of information you've done, you've interacted with, and they're not just jobs you just wake up one morning and say you want to resign. If you eventually resign, they may keep your data and keep track of you for a long period of time before they even think of letting you go, because these are people that understand how powerful data can be. Data can be used for political reasons. Data like HIPAA in the United States, they take health data very seriously because people can use it against you. Let's say you're having a political campaign and all that, and there is this terminal illness you're hiding that supposedly is not meant to make you fit for that position. And just imagine during your manifesto, someone just asks you a question that hits straight to that lapse you have in your health. So imagine what that thing is going to do to you. You're going to be demoralized. You may not even know how to answer questions like that because these guys understand the power of data. And first of all, if our society or Africa as a continent does not understand the power of data, we will not even know the tech we should allow into our space or the ones we shouldn't allow into our space. Now, I don't want to say we're backward because we have the people, we have the mental readiness, but we don't have policies, and our government are not really into pushing technological advancement in the sense that they have politicized everything, whereby even if monies are being made available for such institutions or body to help create this awareness and training, some people tend to pocket it. So it's a this is a major problem. So now when we now talk about technology, before a technology is being brought into a particular region, a particular place, you first of all need to understand, like, when there's an awareness, you get to understand, why am I giving my information to this thing? We get excited or carried away with the euphoria of something new has come into town, something new has come into the space, companies download, everybody to download, and we start using it, giving it details. And I can bet you that 95% to 98% of Nigerians do not read terms and conditions when we're downloading apps and all that. We just see an app, downloading Facebook, TikTok, the next thing, we're on. You don't even care whether they're saying that as you're signing into this or taking your life. So because people are not aware of how important data can be. So when they are presented with a new technology as AI, they don't even want to verify, and they just jump into it and they just get to use it. So if we create a systematic training to make people aware that, as much as we appreciate these technologies that are coming into play, that are coming into the system, we need to verify the root, the reason why this tech is coming into our system. First of all, like TikTok recently, because of the whole shenanigans that was happening between the lefties, like the Democrats and the TikTok owners and all that, they tend to remove it from. They wanted to take it. They shut it down from the US. Now, one of the major reasons this happened was because the US believes that China is using that social media platform as a tool to infiltrate into their data data system. That is the conspiracy theory we believe. It's not like there's a surety around it. And because of that, they tend to shut it down. We can also say that we don't want to overlook the side of competitors trying to shut it down so that they can have monopoly of the apps, or they have plans of bringing one up. But because the bigger picture is that US is a world power and they understand the importance of data, and China is a rising competitor to the US. So they tend to first of all need to take out that particular platform off their shores, because they believe that these guys are infiltrating our system. Now, the US understand the power of data. They know that if an iota of data is being taken from our database, or is being known about us, it can be exploited and be used against us. So they understand these things. So it's not about the excitement of data, it's not about the excitement of AI, it's not about the excitement of machine learning and all that. What we should first of all put in consideration is the impact, the awareness. Are these guys aware of what tech they are allowing into their space? And now, when this awareness is now created, people now know that, okay, this information, this is what it can cause, this is what it can cause, this is the impact, this is the good side and the bad side. They now have a double think before before buying into a certain technological advancement or a certain idea. Now, we now go to the next level, which is government policies. What policies are the government making to make sure that this technology that is being powered into our system they do not get overboard? They don't put us at risk against these people who are initiating this technology into our system. So now privacy is a key thing. Privacy is a key thing to mostly in this technological age. Privacy is one of the most important thing every nation should hold there, even down to our individual life. It's not everything you just let go, because it can be, when it's being exploited, it can be used to destabilize a whole society or a whole continent. It is that important. So, what are the measures the government are putting in place? What measures are government putting in place to make sure? What regulatory bodies are government enacting to make sure that people understand that these are the do's and these are the don'ts? This, your data are safe with us. We can hold your data for a certain period of time. Like the first job I got here in the UK, when I was reading through their, I just applied. They had not employed me. And part of the this employment processes, one of the things he said was, your information is going to be held for a particular period of time, like 60 days. After that, it's going to be taken off our database. And you, as an individual, you have a right. If after 60 days, anyhow, you find out that your data was not taken off their system, you have the right to take them to court, to sue them for holding on to information that you have not, that is not meant to exceed a certain period of time. So, what measures are government putting in place to ensure that privacy is being held, is being taken really seriously, and how are the people aware that privacy, the important, are the people really aware of the importance of privacy? So these two things are the major, are two major things I think, if we get right, it will really buttress or boost the privacy level of a nation, mostly as Africa, in Africa as a continent. And I think that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that robust response. I want to just, take a leaf from the answers which you gave, which are, we need knowledge, we need to be aware of what data we are even giving out in the first place, right? Because everything from your voice to give on interviews to even just coming to a place like this, for instance, is also data, because somebody knows your location. If you, for instance, share a poster of an event you are going to be, somebody knows that you. But I want to come to Dami now and look at it from this aspect of, there was talk about policy, but then at the middle layer are businesses, are people trying to just function in life, go by their daily bread, but they don't really know, or they don't have the awareness, or they don't have the resources, So how would you go about it as somebody who works in the ecosystem with, businesses? Like, what would be your approach, to ensure that some of the issues that were mentioned are really sorted?
Okay, I think I'm gonna the approach that Victor used in asking this question is actually is made here, it drastically reduces the cost for these businesses. So it still brings me back to us creating solutions for ourselves. This is coming together. I think Clary mentioned something that how viable the solutions can consume that build in with consume create has created a solution that is a nutrition based solution that recommends dietary expert dietary recommendations when you need it. Imagine your elderly parent that has diabetes that cannot afford what will I put, that's sorry that has diabetes. They don't need um oyinbo food in quotes. They need local food. So we need localized solutions like that. If we can like that, if somebody is creating the solution, there should be like a community where they can access business experts that can collaborate with them to make it viable. So Larry was saying that how viable are the solutions that we're creating? That is where community, that is where partnership and collaboration comes in. If I'm able to build the product, then I should be able to partner with somebody that is business savvy to collaborate with me, to form a partnership with me, where we can now make it viable. Because the fact that I can build solutions doesn't mean that I'm a business expert. So that's where community collaboration partnerships comes in. So if we're creating localized solutions, it makes it more accessible for us because it drastically reduces the cost of these solutions of producing the solutions basically. So yes, awareness as well sandwich model. So as we are activating these technologies, let's also be creating awareness. Second, let's businesses should be able to access cloud-based security solutions. And lastly, localization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dami, for that. It covers everything like a proper sandwich. You know, and I want to just take a leaf from your response and something you mentioned about, you know, partnership between somebody built a solution, somebody's a business person. My next question is, do you want to, yeah,
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think there's this program where they do where you come to pitch. Is it Shark?
Shark Tank? Yeah,
Shark Tank. Thank you. Where you come to pitch like a product that you're developing,
yeah,
and then the investors, something that those people come for. Sometimes it's not necessarily the money, because most of these people they've even already gained traction. Like even when they're asking for money, they're telling me you made $2 million in profit. You're coming to ask for $500,000. What do you need it for? It's not really the money they need, it's the
yeah.
expertise,
Access to experts.
access to experts, the insights, the business insights that you might not have, but these experts have it. So that's where the place of community and these conversations comes in. It gives you access that you might not necessarily be able to have on
Yes.
your own. You might not have access to all the security, all the cybersecurity knowledge that you need. But when you connect to a platform like Incata, you begin to take note of things that, oh, I didn't know this was a threat. I didn't know this was a threat. So these communities are very important. These conversations are very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to just segue to Lesui and on that note, ask, how do we make security a shared responsibility in organizations? Because for almost every system, humans are the weakest links. So it's like if you have some level of responsibility as somebody who works in an organization, either a bank, either a school, somebody sometimes has to leave the gate open for the bad things to enter. So let's wait. Let us know as somebody who has worked in security for a long time. How do you make it in this era of how what is the place of shared responsibility?
Okay, thank you, Mike, for this central question. Because for me, when we are dealing with data protection, privacy, there is technology, But the big part of the aspect is not technology. Let me take you an instance. We got a problem in Africa Union headquarter in Addis Ababa. I think it's 5 years ago, and we found that Chinese government have been spied the meeting, the conferences for many years. It was not dealing with technology. What happened is just that if you ask yourself to know who built the building, it's a Chinese company. Come and build a strategic building for all strategic African discussions. Building have been built by a Chinese company. And many decades later, we realized that Chinese government have been spying discussions. The war is about data, it's about informations. So when you are planning your strategies, you are organizing how you are going to tackle Chinese, how you are going to sign collaboration with them. Are you going separately? Are you going together? They are already aware about it. And since things have been happening like that, first of all, they start collecting data through churches. After they are putting together technologies that we are using to send data to them for free, we are depending to technology. Let me correct it. We need technology to work. And the question for me, as a human being, you are the place where the data start to get into the system because the most critical data are coming from human beings. Systems are creating their own data, but the most critical data that I'm having the most interest are coming from human beings. They are the one creating data. They are the one putting data into the system. First of all, I will call common sense. To say you are a country like Cameroon, to take this instance, in 2025, you want to build the headquarter of your parliament, and you accept the headquarter to be built free of charge by China government, because that's what is happening now. Is it going to be a surprise to realize that China is spying what you are doing during your parliamentary sessions? It's a matter of common sense. It's not every gift that is good to accept. It's not because somebody will tell you, okay, you are a very beautiful woman. I want us to go tomorrow because I'm seeing you are the wonderful woman I've never met, that you will believe that you are really the wonderful woman you have never met. When there is something that is interesting you around people, you should ask yourself to know what is their own interest on what you have. That is the motto that is building the sensitization campaign I used to organize. The most practical way is not to say, don't do this, don't do that, but to make people to to go back and ask themselves questions. I am giving this for what? He's asking for this for what? It's a battle that is not going to end tomorrow, is true, because as I said earlier, the human factor is the weakest part of the strategies because they are the one producing the data that are carrying the most important, and they are the one also that can disclose the data that can turn to the most critical vulnerabilities. So the best approach for me is to bring people to enter in a kind of continued process while putting their data on the table, asking themselves to know, why do they need my data? Why are they giving me this for free? Why are they helping me to achieve this? Why asking me to provide this or that? Those questions have to be asked at the level of states, at the level of continents, because you have been facing a lot of holes because those questions have not been asked. China will come and say, I will build the headquarter of of African Union. People are happy. You come and build the headquarter of the parliament.
Hello, can you
People
hear
are
us?
happy. Hello, are you getting me?
Yeah, we lost it for a bit.
Mike?
Okay, I think, yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello, Mike, I'm getting you.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, from what you said, we need to ask the tough questions, ask why. But this brings us to the problem of geopolitics, and I want to get Ayo's take here. I mean, do we really have a choice? Because he has posed a very interesting question. Our countries, our states, the continent has to ask why when we get help from the big guys here. But I'm asking you right now, like from the angle of both security and also keeping the economy to running, like what would be a sensible approach to implement what he has said from a state level, a country level, and a continental level? How do you see that playing out? You know,
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And then again, it's all about asking deep-seated, pertinent questions. What do I benefit from this? What's in it for my people? If we are speaking collectively now, and it's not about what that person is telling you is your benefit. It's about how you arrive at that the notion that this is of benefit to me. Just if we take a look, we realize there are different powers in the world today. We have roughly 7 8 international powers. I mean, countries that are at the level of influencing other countries. And at one point in time, each of these countries are always competing, or these countries are always competing, for resources and support of different countries of the world. So we can never be free, totally free of influence at all, whether from the West or from China or from Russia. But what we have to take look at is what is in it for us as a people. So whether we want to align with a certain country or not, we should be able to define ourselves for ourselves. One of the things that bother me a lot is the fact that the African man's history is being told to him by foreigners. So much of what we know about our forefathers is actually the white man that tells us. Let's even start from there. Let's do research about who we are. Then we go to, from there, we get to, what actually is happening around us. So from there, we can now be able to uh, be independent, in accessing these kind of situations. Otherwise, we would all just, for instance, if you analyze it very well, you see that the current government actually is fulfilling most of the terms that are being given to that have been dictated to them by international organizations. So um, deregulation, increasing the tax basket, and increasing electricity tariff. So these are policies that have been recommended, and are good, for a free market economy. But then we are seeing some of the impact. And if we also want to go, the socialist way, again, we can decide that we want to have a welfareist government, but welfare without yeah, without yeah, without a source of revenue to back it up, we've entered debt again. So we have to create our own system, you know, that's not influenced by outsiders. I think it's only then, that we can be in charge of our destiny.
Thank you so much. That is an existential answer in a way because it starts at the heart of who we are as a people. And talking about people, I want to, in a way, narrow down to Incata and what it stands for. AI, cybersecurity, cutting edge technology. I want to ask Victor, you know, as somebody who is now at the vanguard of leading, what I would call a change, a very aggressive one at that. I mean, what is your, driving, lies the word vision? And if there is one thing you would want Incata to accomplish by way of sections like this, what would that be?
Thank you very much for that question. First of all, my drive for this movement or this association stems from a place of a personal experience first, because when you've not experienced something, you may not really have a full picture of what it means to hold it so there. So I've had my own fair share of cyber attacks, and of course I've had my own share of you know uh, organized organized fraudulent attacks and all that. So, and this stems from this is not something that's recent. This is something that there's something I've always thought of doing. This is something I've always thought of giving back to the society, in the sense that I feel like if I had known better, if there was proper information, or I had access to proper information, most of those things wouldn't have happened. And because I was so carried away in believing that uh, I needed to get to a certain level in my life to be able to get those information. I need to be working in maybe the big fives. Maybe I should be working in Meta, Google, Apple, and one of those KPMG. That's when I can really get, hands-on information. Little did I know that the environment around me held everything I needed to become who I wanted to be. But I just lacked the, you know, quick accessible information, or someone who could open my eyes that these things were just right beside me. The arsenals, the tools I need and the arsenals I needed were just lurking around. So if one of the major push for me is to see that the rising generation, the rising cybersecurity, AI, and technology experts, the aspiring professionals, first of all, imbibe a mindset of knowing that we are in a war. And when you're in a war, everything around you is a tool for fight. You cannot be in a battlefront and your enemy is about to kill you, and you're seeing a stone around you that you can use to hit his head, and you're saying, no, as long as I don't have my rifle, I cannot do anything. So it's a way we at in Qatar we're trying to, open the minds of the upcoming technological expert to know that everything around you is a tool for this war. Everything around you is a tool for this battle. So you don't need to wait to get to a certain level. You don't need the monies in the world. No, you don't need to get the best job to actually be able to start making the impact. Because like I said in my speech this morning, being a cybersecurity or an AI expert is a lifestyle. It's not something you just do because if you're doing it because you want to get by, trust me, in a long way, it's just going to take you a couple of time. You're going to run out of fuel. The enthusiasm is just going to die because it can be overwhelming. But when you make it a lifestyle, everything around you becomes informative. Everything around you becomes a tool to become more efficient in what you do. It's all about adaptation. And when you make it a lifestyle, you can adapt to any tool that comes in. You're not finding it overwhelming. It's beyond passion, because passion can just be something you love so much, and it might sometimes require you to be motivated to even act on your passion. But when something is a lifestyle, there is nothing you can do about it. Just like when it's time for you to sleep, sleeping is part of our lifestyle. Now, even if you don't want to sleep, if sleep comes, you find
Yeah.
yourself tilting your head towards the left and right because you want to sleep. So it's resin. Incata wants to push a society whereby everybody has an opportunity to become equipped with all the necessary tools and information to fight this war. We want everybody to the coming up and the upcoming generation, all the ones already here who are aspiring to become better, to understand that we are we are the creators of our destinies, or anything we want to be. We don't always have to depend on what the external world is bringing to us. We don't have to always depend or wait on what AI cybersecurity is going to give to us. As much as we celebrate AI and talk about AI so much, it has a lot of limitations. It comes with so much limitations that lots of us do not even see, because these things were created by humans and human errors happen. So we need to get to that place where we understand that beyond technology, beyond AI, beyond me wanting to get a good job, beyond me wanting to be a face of something, it is a lifestyle. We want to impact a generation, a lasting generation, whereby we can take Africa from here to here, where we are not solely dependent on what the crumbs the external world give to us. We have talent in Africa, mostly especially in Nigeria. We have talent. We have guys that they have the brain for everything. But what these guys just do is that they create a tool, they push it down, shove it down, and create an algorithm whereby certain kind of information gets to us and certain kind of informations don't get to them. Information that distract our youth, that make them feel like, okay, you need to have quick money, quick fame, and all that. But back there, they have they have access to information that promote innovation. They want to create, they want to think. So when communities like these are everywhere, we control the kind of information our society receive. Just like the social media control the kind of information we receive. You can just click on a picture mistakenly. The next minute, as you're coming back to visit your page, you see series of those kind of informations popping up on your screen, because it's an algorithm that's been controlled, that's been set to control how we think, what we react to, and what we would want. So imagine we have 10 of um initiatives like Incata, yeah, everywhere littered around the shores of Africa. You turn here, the only thing you're thinking is innovation. Just like China, the only thing you're thinking is innovation. The only thing you're thinking is how to, protect
Thank you.
the
Yeah.
infrastructure of your nation. So it's just
Thank you so
we
much.
trying to create that. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's a passion. It's beyond passion. We can see it from your response, and I think the challenge for everybody now is to take what we've heard, see it as just beyond. I mean, trying to build a culture. That's just the essence here. Trying to build a culture. So let that be the one thing we take home. How do we build the culture of innovating with AI and cybersecurity? On that note, I want to thank all our panelists. You've been awesome, you've given us great answers. I want to thank those both, the physical and virtual. Also, want to thank everybody who was taking time to be with us today. It's been awesome having you. With that, I bring a close to this session and hand over the mic to Ayo.
Very much. Okay, thank you very much once again. Before I invite Mr. Victor to give a vote of thanks, I just want to quickly go through something very important that I should have. Mr. Daniel, please, your attention is needed. Mr. Daniel, thank you very much. Can we all see this? This is what I should have done right. So this is just a brief. Um, okay, this is just a brief introduction into what we do at Incata. So the full meaning of the organization is the International Network for Cybersecurity and Advanced Technology in Africa. Okay, so Incata, this is what Incata is. It's a collaborative platform for technology professionals and enthusiasts around the world to facilitate and advocate cybersecurity, AI, and other forms of technological advancement in general across Africa. We want to create a society in Africa where individuals are inspired to learn and contribute. And our mission is again to create a society where individuals are inspired to learn and contribute to technological advancements. So you see, whilst Victor is speaking, he's talking about collaboration, he's talking about inspiration, creativity. You know, the next slide. I want to go through this quickly. So these are our objectives, and these are the things that guide our activities. So we organize workshops and training programs. After this, you're going to see us. We have all your contacts. You're going to see us organize trainings, real trainings. That will equip people with the right with the capacity. In the fields of AI, cybersecurity, and other forms of digital technology. Empowering students through grants and community contributions. So we're building communities as well, to facilitate um, assistance to students. And we provide career guidance and counseling, support members in their professional development. That's also part of, our community activities. And then we drive advocacy. So part of what we're doing today is driving advocacy around cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. We foster collaborations. um the last panel session, all three of us are involved in organizations that facilitate collaborations. Instinct Labs is at the forefront of driving adoption of AI. They are organized hackathons whereby students create products. The Adrenalina is a co-working space and an incubation center. They're trying to um, help solution providers, that developers and startups, to create access to funding and trainings. And this is Incata. So we galvanize stakeholders into making decisions. So we are connecting with people like um, policy makers, government stakeholders, to again help um, help provide the right conditions for the development of artificial intelligence. So these are, our activities or our services: training, funding, human capital development, And again, we create access to marketing and PR. So if you have a startup, or you know someone that's building a business in the tech space, we can facilitate your access to create the right publicity for you. Again, at some point, get you access to funding, advocacy, of course. Some of our events, like this one, are meant for advocacy. So we're building communities whereby you have access to all of these things on the go. You can interact with other professionals. If you go to our website now, www.incata.org, register, and then you'll become a member of our community. In the nearest future, we'll have more prerequisites for joining, including things like aptitude tests and the likes. So we have specialized book clubs and all of that. So events, cybersecurity in AI workshop is just one of the events that we are organizing. So we are going to be having seminars, webinars, and mixers. So this is the flyer for this event. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. So I will now, so as not to waste your time, this is the end of the event. I will now invite the founder of Incata, Victor Audu, to give the vote of thanks. Thank you very much for your patience.
I really want to say a very big thank you to each and every one of you for turning up, and to everyone who played a crucial role to making this dream become a reality. I really want to say a very big thank you as well to Mr. Ayo, to Simi, to Joel, to Teniola, to who am I missing out? Emanuela, and to Isaac, the media guy. You guys are amazing. And to everyone who took out time to come for this event, we really want to say a very big thank you. This is our maiden edition, and we believe subsequently we're going to do something better and bigger. At least now you're not aware that we have you at heart, and we're creating a society whereby your dreams will not only remain dreams but be actualized. And you being here today shows that you actually have a passion for something, and this is your first step into living in your dreams. So I just want to say a very big thank you to each and every one of you. We already have all your details and everything, so we're gonna stay in contact. We're gonna be communicating, and Mr. Ayos just read about the everything about our mission and vision and everything we're all about, which I believe most of you are aware of. Visit us at www.incata.org. You see, you have a handful of all the things we're all about. Register register to become a member, and we're gonna be keeping you abreast with updates, newsletters, and all that. So it is better you register now while we're just starting off, because in a couple of months to come, we may have to you may have to water the soil because before you can plant your seed. You know what I mean? So that's just a joke. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for taking our time to visit us. And I think there's a little bit of refreshment. I don't know if you guys have had it, just for the sake of our little beginning. Just manage that. And thank you so much. And we love you all, and I would be, if I'm permitted to say, God bless you. Yeah, thank you. Bye. And most importantly, I just want to say a very big thank you to all the speakers. I'm so sorry, my bad. And to Letsu, to Larry, to Moses, the moderators as well, to Dami, and every other person. I'm really grateful for taking out your time. To Mr. Danjuma, And to Larry, what's his name? I think there's one that was meant to be a part of this. He had an emergency surgery, so he was not able to make it up. We wish you quick recovery, and we have you at heart. Please do well to follow us on all social media pages because it is important when we start giving out our community. When we start our community projects, those are going to be part of the criteria as we're going to be using to, you know those that are really, really passionate about this. Please do well to follow us on all social media pages. And thank you so very much. Every person that was involved, the speakers, you guys were excellently marvelous. You guys did an amazing job. I was blown off with all your insights. Thank you so very much. If I'm missing anybody's name, please pardon my pardon me for that. And thank you so very much once again. Bye.